as you know, our two countries had two very significant elections. You had Brexit here in the UK, and we had our presidential elections about a week ago. So we're in uncharted waters. But I just did a session where I talked about similarities and differences. And so obviously differences between our sectors. Our sector is much more political because our governors are not, our boards are not self-perpetuating. Our trustees, our governors are elected and appointed by political leaders. So that's a huge difference, and it drives a lot of our culture, to be sure. But among our similarities, we have the same things. We have funding challenges. We're not federally funded by and large, but we're seeing a huge retrenchment in state and local funding, which causes huge challenges. We have enrollment issues because the economy has strengthened and enrollment is counter-cyclical, so enrollments are going down somewhat. We have huge leadership challenges. I don't know about the UK, but in our country, seeing a huge wave of retirements among principals, or what we would call presidents. That's a huge challenge. We have issues of immigration and foreign students, and how that's going to play out now in this new world order after Brexit and the American elections. And we also continue to worry about issues of accountability. We have not had a history in the United States of having a national system of accountability like you have in the UK, although we are seemingly moving in that direction. Increasing conversation in Washington, D.C. about having some kind of a national system of either accreditation or standards, which is something that we are totally unprepared for and is not part of our history. So it's very fascinating for me to come to AoC and learn from my colleagues here about what life under the microscope may or may not mean for us into the future. So the issue or the question of international exchange, can we really ramp up our efforts between our two countries on international exchange, having faculty exchange, student exchange? I think absolutely. I mean, it's naive to assume that we can solve our own problems in a vacuum. And so I would always argue that there's great possibilities in exchanges at all levels between our sectors. I mean, part of the reason that my association has a memorandum of understanding with AoC is precisely to build a common understanding and exchange, particularly around issues of governance, but there's no reason we can't engage colleges in the United States and the UK to look at faculty exchange, student exchange. These are great things that should be looked at, and I think high value. And I hope that we can do more of this, even in spite of our recent elections and possible fallout. But I've always believed in international exchange. I was fortunate to grow up in a family that had the opportunity to travel internationally, and so I learned at a young age that the more we understand each other and the more we have opportunities for dialogue, the deeper our understanding and the more quickly we're going to solve our respective problems. Well, apprenticeship is a huge issue. I think we talked maybe last year or sometime in the past about apprenticeship. And I was opining about the fact that in the United States we virtually forgot about apprenticeship for a great number of years, which in my opinion was a tremendous mistake. But under the Obama administration a couple of years ago, there's been a resurgent interest in apprenticeship and some modest federal funds behind it, and a lot of recruitment of our community colleges to really ramp up their apprenticeship, which I think is a good thing because I know in our country there are about 5.6 million jobs that go unfilled, mostly because you can't find people with relevant skills or workforce-related skills. Apprenticeship is clearly a strategy for addressing that, and I hope that we really focus on that more intensely as we go into the future.